Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Caleb Can. I have come back to keep on updating you with the bus. I took a few weeks off just to finish up the outside completely, that way we can finally start the inside, which we're starting today. Now, as you saw by that intro clip, I have finished all the wooden siding. It goes around 3 sides of the bus. I've also put on a rock wall, which is in place of a roof rack ladder to get up to the roof rack. I've also put the final planks on the roof rack, which we'll be finishing today. I have a few more screws to install into it. So yeah, we have finished the outside completely, and we are as watertight as we're ever going to get. More on that later. And we are going to finish up the last few screws of the roof rack and get started on insulation today. Naima will be here in a bit, and she's going to help me out. Okay, so how I installed the side panels, I'm sure you're curious, is it's really simple. Basically, we drilled 8 holes per big panel. I have 2 at the beginning, 4 halfway, like 2 right here, 2 down there, and then 2 at the end. Anything that went through just the side panel of the bus, I've basically braced with a piece of wood in place of a washer because I felt like that would be a lot more stable. It was also free because I had wood already. And I drilled the holes in the panel itself before I started sanding and sealing them. That way inside the holes is sealed up on the wood portion of it. And then I have put butyl tape around the hole outside and also polyurethane inside the hole and also on the bolts before I put the piece of wood on, and then I bolted it on. And that's really about it. I got really nice bolts that are zinc coated, so they should hold up a very long time against the elements. And they've been bolted all the way through, all the way on here. I put some thread locker on there, and then I cut the bolt off. Now the reason it looks black right now is because after I cut the bolt off, I didn't want to compromise the zinc coating, so I painted the end. That way it's fully sealed off and it shouldn't rust at all. And I did that for 16 bolts per each side, and then also there's 2 bolts per panel on the back. And the back ones I didn't brace with wood because they're very small and they don't really need it. The washers should be sufficient. Now, for the rock wall, I basically did exactly the same thing. Now these ones I haven't cut off yet, that's why they still look so long. But basically, for each rock, I bought some awesome eco-friendly rocks that have been made out of recycled materials. Yep. Now as far as the rocks go, this is one of my favorite things about the bus now, because I looked for a long time for a roof rack ladder. It was either buy one for $100, make one out of black iron pipe for $70, or I can build one. And my brother-in-law did just recently get a welder, but I can't start the inside until I had these through the wall. That way I can make sure everything's watertight on them. And I found this idea from a camper van walkthrough of these people that put rock climbing rocks on the back of their van to get up to the roof rack, and I thought it was the craziest idea ever. So I bought some off of eBay. These ones are awesome. They look like real rocks. They are eco-friendly. They have been made by a company, I think in Denver. I don't remember. But I got 10 for $18. So they go all the way to the top. It's awesome. And the bolts that I had bought for the panels fit it perfectly. They did come with their own bolts that are really nice, but they weren't quite long enough to go through the panel, through the wall, and then through another piece of wood to brace it on the inside. So I used the bolts I already had, and they fit just amazing. Like, they fit perfectly. And that's basically all I did for the rock. So you just, once the panels are on, I just drilled a hole through the panel, through the wall, through another piece of wood, and bolted it on. I made sure to put some polyurethane around the hole and in the hole and around the bolts on the inside. That way it's completely watertight and nothing's gonna leak. But I just did that 10 times, except for the bottom one. Didn't waterproof this one because it's not inside the bus. So yeah, that is how I did all of the outside work. I'll show you the roof rack a little bit later. But now, let's talk about insulation. I know this video has a lot of talking, but I have a lot of catching up to do for you. So I've started the insulation on this wall, as you can see, and there was a lot of thinking that went into this specific insulation. Now my windows, I have water tested them 1,000 times, and at their current state, they don't leak at all while water testing, which is pouring a hose completely on the window everywhere. Nothing leaks, but I did get a small amount of rain on the floor, not on the floor, inside the wall during the last all-day rainstorm we had here in Houston, and I have no idea where it's coming from. And at this point, I'm gonna basically make sure my walls are completely able to drain. That way, if and when water does leak, it's not going to be trapped inside the wall and it's going to drain out of the bottom. Now, by doing that, I do want to make sure that I have the most mold-resistant insulation. I also want to make sure that I have drainage holes in the wall, and so I did a lot of research about foams and specific types of insulation and how I should set up this whole drainage thing in the wall, because even if I did get every leak ever sealed in the bus, stuff will eventually open back up, and I don't want water to sit in the walls if it ever were to get into the bus. Also, the bus windows leak just in the opening by themselves, so yeah. I'm over the leaking. But basically, I decided on inside the walls, we're doing 2-inch EPS, which is a type of foam insulation. There's two types. I won't go into them too much. There's EPS and XPS. XPS is what I did in the roof before I knew about this stuff. This is a lot cheaper. It has a radiant barrier installed on it already. They sold it at Lowe's. It was like half the price of the stuff I did in the ceiling, which was amazing. It's slightly less insulative as the pink foam, but not much. And the thing about it is it takes in water and lets out water much, much faster than the pink foam. So if water does come in contact with it and it gets onto the foam, it's going to release the water and dry out about twice as fast as the pink foam. There's been a lot of tests on it, and it's definitely a lot better at that. So we're basically going to be fully sealing all the walls with this, which is nice too because it has the radiant barrier, so it should trap out even more sunlight, which would be great. And then we're going to use some of the spray foam around the edges. I bought some window and door seal spray foam, which should be a little bit more water resistant. And yeah. Now you'll also notice in each wall, I reopened the two drainage holes that were actually already here. I just closed those up when I opened the wall for the first time because I didn't think I would want this to be in there. So I reopened them. I also made sure to put a little bit of paint around it, that way it won't rust the floor if water does get in here. And basically that just lets water drain out. The last thing I'm going to do for all these holes is I'm going to put a little bit of screened mesh, that way no insects or anything like that can get inside the wall from the bottom, because I will leave about 1/4 of an inch gap on the bottom of the wall. That way if water does sit in here until it dries out, it's not going to be sitting into the foam. It's going to be sitting underneath the foam. There's also a portion of the wall right here which goes up a little bit, like a little channel, so it doesn't go into the floor. My bus has a weird design where it actually has this little ridge right here that's about 1/2 inch high. So the water will just sit in here until it pours out of these holes and or dries out, which should be really great. So definitely let me know your comments about this below. I'm going with this solution because I think it's the best option for me. And I would like to know if you guys have any questions about it. I can definitely always answer them down below. Or any concerns about it. But right now I'm going to go ahead and get started. I bought some window screen. And I'm going to cut some really small pieces, and I'm going to use some construction adhesive and glue it around the bottom of the holes around the whole bus. That way I can make sure I have those covered up so nothing can get into the bus. So yeah, let's get started on that. So the remaining parts of the roof rack was really simple. I just bought some great Deckmate screws. They have a really nice top finish on them. They're made to be outside, and they are nice and long. I bought 2.5-inch ones. That way they can go all the way through the 2x4s and half an inch down into the beam. They're very nice. Okay, so I upgraded them to 3 screws per plank, except for this one little skinny one. It's only 1 on each side. Oh, I forgot one. Hold on, I'm gonna do that one really quick. And I also did a 4 on the front one and the back one, because that's the one that's gonna be seeing the most stress from wind. Back one as well, just to kind of hold it all in. But definitely the front one is incredibly solid now. Like, moves the whole bus before it's gonna actually move itself. So yeah, this thing is incredibly stable. It works out great. I think it's a great option for someone who doesn't have the money or a welder to build a metal roof rack. It's a lot simpler than what some people have done as far as like running beams up the side of their bus, so I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, so we finished all the wall and sides insulation. It is now day 2 of insulation day. What I'm going to start to do now is we vacuumed everything up last night as far as all the the styrofoam dust things, and I'm going to take out each panel. I'm going to put some glue on it that is safe for foam, and I'm going to put it back in. So we got to do that for all the panels, and let's do it. Okay, so I finished spray foaming everything. Well, I used up all the spray foam that I have, and I've let it dry and expand for a few hours, and now I'm going to go around and I'm going to trim all the excess off. Just tested out this one to make sure it's dry enough, and it definitely is, so I'm going to go around and trim off all these big pockets of it. And yeah, after that I'm probably going to call it for today, because I have to go to work, and this stuff is supposed to cure for about 24 hours, so we'll leave it curing, and yeah, let's go ahead and get this trimmed off though. That's the end of this episode. As you see, I finished most of the big job in insulation. I've glued the panels down, I've spray foamed, and I've trimmed it to fit. I am going to put some reflective tape over the non-foil stuff, that way it's all a full radiant barrier along the walls. Wish I'd done that on the ceiling. It's too late now. On the ceiling I'm going to put some fiberglass as well in there before I put the final panel above it. But I also still need to get a little bit more spray foam and fill up these pillars with insulation, as well as do this little corner and that little spot on the top right there. But other than that, insulation's done. That was quick. Only took me 2 days. But that's really like 5 hours. That's about it. One last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today is the reason I didn't make a video for about 3 weeks is just I've been very in a rush to try to start insulation. I couldn't start this until I finished waterproofing the outside, finished putting on the panels, the rock wall. As you can see why, things were bolted, that would be behind it, and oh, I'm sweating. Woo. Woo. It's hot outside at the moment here in Texas. But yeah, I've been trying to do that. I've also had to start working full-time hours. I'm running out a little bit of money, which brings me to my next point, is that I think I'm going to open up a Patreon. I will have a link down below. If you don't know, Patreon is basically a service where you can like donate a monthly fee to me in support of my videos and also to help on the bus. Anybody who does sign up for Patreon, I'm going to have their name somewhere in the bus, whether it's on the insulation before it gets covered up. You will be a part of this bus. And I don't think really anybody will sign up, but I thought I'd open one just because why not? I would love it if anybody that wants to help out with the bus project has some sort of avenue to help out, and the main avenue I need right now is just some funds. I still need to buy the other half of the electrical stuff. There's also quite a few materials I still need to buy, besides all the recycled wood I'm going to use for the rest of the build. Hopefully the only other wood I'm going to buy is going to be the plywood sheeting that's going to go over the insulation. Everything else in the bus should be recycled pallet wood, should be recycled wood I find around Houston, and should be really cool and free, which is nice. But I still have quite a few things I need to buy, so if you do want to help support the project, feel free to hit the link below and it will take you over to my Patreon page that I will have created by the time I upload this, and that would be amazing. It'd be a huge help to me. But anyway, don't forget to follow me down on Instagram. I've posted a few photos while I've been absent that you would have missed out, and that I'm sure you would have liked to see. And I will see you guys in the next video. It will come a lot sooner, because we are doing a lot more work on the bus now. More progress being made now that the outside's finally done. I'll see you in the next one. See ya. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. This is the end of the vlog. Good night, good night. Good night, good night, vlog.